Dr. Cassidy, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us here at the Blaze. It was a very eventful day on Capitol Hill. You, of course, you chair the Health Committee here on the Senate, and you guys talked about the abortion pill. And it's an issue that our audience cares deeply about. And so if you could briefly summarize really the reality of what the abortion pill is and what it does to women, because I don't think it's always clear. A lot of people, especially on the left, like to use euphemisms to make it seem like it is safe or effective. But you're a doctor and you know better. So could you explain maybe the reality of what mifepristone is?
Yeah, so first, you're right. People do need to kind of, if you will, be informed. Because the side which promotes abortion always tries to kind of gloss over what's really happening. It's a pill that a woman takes. It's approved up to 10 weeks of pregnancy. And if she takes that and another pill, then she is almost certainly going to abort. The child will be born dead. So it's not like Tylenol, which people like to, oh, it's like Tylenol. It's not like Tylenol. You have a headache, you take Tylenol, 4 hours later, your headache's gone. This, you take it, and a few hours later, and your baby has expired. Now, the problem is that there can be side effects, terrible effects. And one reason for that is under the Biden administration during COVID, they said that a woman could receive this medicine without actually having to see a doctor. Why is that important? Well, this pill's only supposed to be given up to 10 weeks of pregnancy. If a woman who's at 20 weeks of pregnancy takes the pill, she can have a complication, a terrible complication. A woman with an ectopic pregnancy can have a complication. And also, as we brought out, because we really wanted to stress the human side of this, there's documented cases of where someone did not want to have the abortion, but someone either tricked her by lacing her drink or coerced her by having emotional control over her. And so we wanted to humanize it. The fact that you can go online, click in, your name is Michael Smith, not a female, but Michael Smith, you can get a pill and then give it to your girlfriend against her, without her knowledge, or force her to take it is wrong. And we wanted to stress that too.
I think that's such an important point and one that doesn't get brought up enough. And I know pro-life lawmakers like yourself are really focused on actually upholding some sort of guardrails, because it seems like you can really just order this thing online. They treat it like Tylenol, like it's an over-the-counter medication. And you explained the various complications that could go wrong. The pro-life base in the Republican Party is probably some of the most vocal. That's the bread and butter of the GOP. And yet we heard last week, or it might have been the week before, the president ask pro-lifers to be flexible on the Hyde Amendment. And we saw the reaction online, we saw the reaction from various lawmakers. Is there, in your eyes, any flexibility on the Hyde Amendment?
Federal dollars should not pay for abortion, period. They should not. The American people agree with the statement I just made. And so if we just take that as baseline, then I think we're all on the same page. And the president's flexibility, I'm still not quite sure what he meant by that, because he backed off on it a little bit. But I will say one of the things that I've been pushing, because we could right now go back to the pre-Biden era in which the person who wanted the abortion pill actually had to see a doctor. And so we need the White House, more properly, the FDA and the Secretary of HHS, Robert Kennedy, to do that, to engage on that, to return the policy back to where the woman actually had to see the doctor. And the doctor could say, oh, no, you're too far along for it. Or, do you really want it? Are you sure you do? Because it seems like that guy out there is making you take it. And that's what we want him to go back to. And that could be Commissioner McCarry and Secretary Kennedy that could do that.
Yeah. Well, and I wanted to ask you about Secretary Kennedy as well, because there was a new report this morning from Politico. The headline reads, "Lawsuit dismissed after Trump admin quietly restored tens of millions to Planned Parenthood." And I looked at some of the reactions online, one from SBA Pro-Life, who you work with closely, a lot of great people there. And they said that they want the Trump administration to reinstate these federal funds that were withheld from Planned Parenthood, one of the largest, if not the largest, abortion providers.
They don't want them reinstated.
Exactly, that they want to cut the funds that were originally withheld. What's your reaction? Did you see the article yourself?
I did not see the article.
So in this particular case, this was Title X funds. And so they were for non-abortion services, but like I mentioned earlier, Planned Parenthood is one of the largest, if not the largest, abortion provider in the country. Would you like to see those funds withheld, or have you spoken to any of your colleagues about this issue?
Yeah, I voted for Planned Parenthood to be defunded in the tax cut for working families bill. And so that's kind of where I am on this issue. I haven't read the article, so I'm going to withhold judgment because of that. In fact, I've not discussed it with anybody. So good for you for finding the article, but it's been a busy day. That's all I can say.
Absolutely.
But let me track that down and come back to you.
We can circle back to that at a later date. Another question. So the president, as you said, he has sort of walked back the comments that he made about Hyde Amendment. Have you spoken to him at all? Are these negotiations in the works as some of the healthcare legislation is being rolled out? Have you spoken to the president about Hyde Amendment?
I'm in a group that is speaking to the president, but all I can say is that for us to get a deal on the extension of anything with the Affordable Care Act, he's going to have to be involved on several aspects, including how do we negotiate this. And so there's an old baseball player, he called himself the straw that stirred the drink, which is to say the one that makes things happen. The president is the straw that stirs the drink. He needs to be engaged. If he's not, we won't get a deal. Mm-hmm. If he does get engaged, we can get a deal.
And last question here, because I know you're a busy man. The pro-life movement has come a long way, overturned Roe v. Wade, which was a milestone, but then we also saw abortions increase afterwards. What's your perspective on this shift? Are you optimistic that we'll be able to rein in the actual amount of abortions that are taking place across the country? It's a concern several pro-life groups have raised. What's your outlook going forward? Are you optimistic?
It's a cultural change in which people have to value life. And I'll say that because it isn't a congressman or a senator that makes that decision. It is the people in our communities who, if a young lady is pregnant, will wrap her around with everything she needs to have a life which is full, which is protected, to either keep the child or put it up for adoption. As I was leaving today, a woman gave me her card from a crisis pregnancy center, and I've toured many of them.
There are many.
There are many. And what they do to help that young couple or that young person be able to handle this pregnancy is a wonderful thing. If we do that, if we teach our culture to value life, we're going to see abortion go down. Now, you can't rely upon the Congress to be the kind of last line holding things, because we are a reflection of culture. We need our culture to change. And then it comes back to you and I, being the salt in our society that preserves it and preserves the values that we know to be important.
Well, I know a lot of our audience feels the same, and we appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us, Dr. Cassidy, at the Blaze.
Hey, thank you.